Better. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Is that, oh, what is that? Is that a condensation? God, I hope not. There we go. Oh, oh no, hang on, is that? There we go. Oh, anyway, yes. Woo. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. And welcome to the first live stream of 2023. Catho G, good morning to you. We've got some morning pony for you early risers. Good morning, Cavalan 100, good morning to you. Good morning, like I say, it's wet, it's muddy, it's a typical Yorkshire morning. So yeah, this if I'm honest, I don't know if you can see the sky behind me. It looks very angry. It looks like any moment the heavens could indeed very much be open. So this might at maybe one point become a good morning under a tree. Or even potentially under a bridge. It depends where we can take shelter. Anyway, but Mitchell and Boo, good morning to you. Nick B, good morning to you. Ben, good morning to you. David, good morning to you. Paul, good morning to you. Oh, there we go. But yes, good morning, good morning, good morning to everyone else joining us. Like I say, do say, whoop, hello in the chat, even if it's just whoop, good morning. Feel free to join in the chat. Nico, good morning to you. Remember to hit the like and share button. Ooh, and like I say, settle in, because it's going to be a good it's going to be a good one this morning. But if you'll excuse me, I got to first of all get through this little swamp that we've got. As I said, it's very, very muddy this morning. Good old typical Yorkshire morning, but yeah, it's just difficult to just navigate through this mud. Part of the problem is the fact that you've got all this, well, cattle now and ponies churning up the mud to no end, and it's an absolute nightmare to get through. But oops, a daisy. To just get through it the best I can. Oh, Paul Martin, good morning to you. Joe, good morning to you. David, good morning to you. Like I say, if I have missed saying good morning to you, it's because, like I say, I've got to wade through this awful state. Nearly stuck there. Of this mud. It is an absolute nightmare to get through. Yes, we will start talking whoops about the but of course I think before we begin, this is just, sorry, I do apologise. Like I say, it's just a nightmare just to get through this muddy patch now. There we go. Onto some actual solid land. Well, it's not solid because it's still muddy. I might have to look into finding an alternative route, I think, because this is just insane how muddy this field's getting at the moment. But yes, I think before we begin, I think we should turn our gaze across the pond, as they say, and have a look at what this week was, according to some people, the most chaotic week in American politics. Whoops, daisy. for a good number of years. That's come down my belly. Oh, I need to get some better socks. But yes, good morning. Like I say, hopefully you can still hear me. Yeah, 15th time lucky, that was it. And I personally could not believe it took them 15 times to do this. Oh, hang on. Yep. It took them 15 times to get a speaker elected. And bear in mind, this hasn't happened, from what one guy was saying in the news, in like 100 years. Yeah, watch out for the daisies. And the last time apparently this happened, in like, I think it was like 1923 or something like that. I think this happened, like just after World War One. This happened. Oh, good morning, Cathonic, as well. Good morning. I just saw you sneak in, and good morning to everyone else that I've missed as well. Like I say, I've got to try and navigate what is now becoming increasingly a very muddy field, which is super annoying. But there you go. Like I say, roll on the better weather. Say aye. So yes, where are we? So yeah, last time that obviously this happened over 100 years ago. This happened in, yeah, like just after World War One, like the 20s, I think the early 20s. I think it was like 1923, 24, I think, something like this happened. And for what I've been watching, the guy said the last time this happened, it was with the Republicans. Ironically, what the dispute about was last time was over policy. And it was a split between the rural Republicans and the city Republicans. Because the city Republicans wanted to pass a law that was hurting the rural Republicans. So they made them hurt by refusing to vote the speaker in. And they got concessions. Now that only happened once, but the fact here is, it is not the same. It is not the same as it was last time. Because the last time that happened, over 100 years ago, that was about policy. And the rebels, those rural Republicans, managed sort of to embarrass the city Republicans and got them to make concessions on sort of, a policy proposal that they wanted. The difference this time around is that these rebel Republicans did not want any sensible policy changes. Oh, disgruntled Brummy, good morning to you. Oh, Houghton, good morning to you as well. Like I say, good morning to anyone else that I've missed. Like I say, welcome to the first Good Morning Walk of the year. It's a bit muddy, wet and windy. Oh, Patrick, good morning to you as well. Hey. It's a typical Yorkshire morning. So you'll have to excuse me if it gets a bit windy. If it gets a bit windy from time to time, or indeed at one point I might suspect if the heavens decide to open, I might have to dash under a tree at one point. So I do apologise for that. But yes, like I say, welcome all, come on in. pull up your feet, hit the like button, hit the share button, and we'll talk more about this craziness that's going on in America. So, what has happened now? We need kites. Maybe, well, actually, probably not, because this, like I say, there are power lines in this field. There are a lot of power lines in this field. It's not a very good kite flying area. But these Republicans, didn't they vote to remain? Yes, they did. 15th time lucky, as someone said. 15 times. And 14 failed votes. Every single time, they extracted more and more concessions. And as we said last time, the last time this happened 100 years ago, this was an internal dispute between rural Republicans and city Republicans. It was about policy. It was about stuff they could actually tangibly do. The difference we see this time is that there was no discussion on policy. This was essentially really about holding essentially the entire Republican Party hostage just because they could. And this is what makes it so insane. Because we've talked about in our own Conservative Party over here in the UK that on the surface, the Conservatives, just as the Republicans do, they give off a very, very unified view. They look to be very unified. But as increasingly, just as they have, over in the Republicans, over our party as well. Pretty Bird, good morning to you as well, holding the entire country hostage. Yeah, that's also very true. Just as they have continued to do this, they have essentially allowed more and more crazies in to the party, because at that time those crazies were convenient, they were popular, they were saying the exact same things that the Republicans were saying. They were chanting along the same things the, quote, I suppose we'll put it, the sane Republicans were saying, but every so often they'd throw in something extra. What do we want? Smaller government, less taxes, less regulation, and then all of a sudden one side would go, and theocracy. And the problem is, at that point, what should have happened was the Republicans should have punished them, brought them into line, and said, no, look, this is the party line, this is where we toe it. And it's exactly what people like David Cameron should have done, what Theresa May should have done, what Rishi Sunak should be doing, but he's too scared because he doesn't have a backbone to be able to punish his dissenters and actually take them to task to try and unify the party. He has absolutely no plans whatsoever to be able to do that. And the thing is, we know that these extremists, these hardliners, did it because it wasn't about policy, it was about taking power purely and simply because they could. They did this because they could. And that's what's scary about it. The fact that you have had, initially starting off as 5 people, which then went to 20, showing we will stymie your actions until we get what we want. Oh, Tilly the Coder, good morning to you. And this is why we've seen it in our own Conservative Party. We saw what happened to Theresa May. We saw what happened to Boris Johnson. We saw what happened to Liz Truss. And we're about to see the exact same thing happen to Rishi Sunak. Oh, Sir Larry the Cat, good morning to you. We are about to see, certainly in the UK this year, a small minority cause trouble for the larger party, because that's effectively what happened in America this week. It's effectively what is going to happen in the UK this year as well. And I think someone said it, I think it was Planetary Citizen. Your comment went by. It was a bit of a long one, so I didn't get a chance to read it all. I only saw the first part. But you, like I, wonder, what are the concessions that McCartney had to make to these hardliners? And from what we know, or at least what's been said publicly in this case, is it's down to committee assignments. That's what's happened. Joan K, all McChicken wants is a picture on the speaker's wall. He's not long for the job. Well, exactly. One of the concessions they got, from the way I understand it, like I say, I'm not an American constitutional expert, so you'll forgive me if I'm wrong on this. But from the way I have heard it, and at least the way I have sort of understand it, is one of the concessions they have got from him is that any moment, do we find another lettuce runner? Potentially. I mean, this is it. This concession that they've got is at any moment, one of them could just go, I don't want you to be speaker anymore. You're out of the job. And it only takes one. That's the concession they've got. So, potentially, on Monday morning, oh, pardon me, you have to excuse me, it's getting pretty windy at the moment. Potentially on Monday morning, Lauren Boebert, I can't remember what her first name is, I think it's Lauren Boebert, one of these rebels could stand up, oh, good morning Patrick, could stand up and just say, I'm taking you out, I'm initiating the vote, I'm getting rid of you. They could legitimately do that. Now, whether they will, of course, is another question. But I think they'll probably wait to do it until at least they've got all these very, shall we say, plum committee assignments that they seem to be asking for and wanting. So I think that's at least certainly what they're going to ask for first. And then once they've got that, that is when they'll probably go, well, we don't want you Speaker of the House anymore. Bye. So it's highly possible. I mean, every single time at this point, Barnsley Triangle strikes 10. Buffering in the Barnsley Triangle here. Every single time, that exact same spot. Every single time. Oh. But yeah, hopefully we'll be all right now. They say it's at that exact spot every single time. Don't know what it is. It's that spot every single time. Morning. Every single time, that spot, like clockwork. Yeah, so where were we? Yeah. I think they'll wait to be sworn in, and I think they'll wait for, shall we say, their committee positions to be confirmed, and then they'll chuck him. And bear in mind, the last time we saw this type of rebel action is the Barnsley Triangle near the Rhubarb Triangle. Well, we are actually in the Rhubarb Triangle. So that is a thing, by the way, the Rhubarb Triangle. Like I say, look it up. But we are, like I say, firmly in the Rhubarb Triangle. So I don't know, maybe it's the rhubarb gumming everything up. It's very possible. So, honestly, one fun thing is the certainly the action from Fox News, because I don't know if you saw, Sam, nightly unfold, and they got to show like the reaction from Fox rebels. Yeah, the kite and power line is going to be handy for a signal boost. Yeah, that's very true. I'm just trying to think which way is best, because to be honest, that way is going to be ridiculously muddy. Tell you what, we'll go back. We'll go back this way. We'll risk the Barnsley Triangle again. I hope nothing important has happened in the last 2 minutes. No, it was essentially continuing on with the fact that, look, these extremists that they've let into the party, they've allowed into the party, now have power. And they've shown that they can exert their power to get their way. And the thing is, this wasn't about a battle for policy, it was about a battle basically to prove it that they could. One of the best sort of examples analysis, one of the guys they got on that I saw covering this, basically like saying that very true. But hopefully we're back. That's it. What you don't realise is there's a stalk of rhubarb now under my head, underneath the hat. I've been pod personed. But I think we're back. Yes, I think we're back. Fantastic, we're back. Fantastic. Oh, so, like I say, I think where would we leave off now? Yes. Extremists and hardliners. So, the big problem... I can't tell the Marines to stand down. As long as it's not tinfoil. I should have done this one inside today, I think. I think the heavens feel as if they're about to open. By the way, here's a bit of pony for you all today. Because they have been absent for a while, but there you go. Oh, so what do we take away, I suppose, from the chaos that's going on in America? Because that Republican rebellion is certainly not over. It's not over by a long shot. I think you'll definitely see certainly the Republicans in America, I think that was probably the first shot across the bow of certainly a battle in the Republican Party to certainly take control of it. And the thing is, in our own sort of, Tory party over here, there are many factions, many people who are capable of doing that, and they've proven to do that before, going all the way really back to the days of, Cameron, of the Brexiteers demanding a referendum on the EU and being, the Euro 13, I think they dubbed themselves. No, the UKIP 13, that was it. They dubbed themselves. Continuously threatening that if they did not sort of get their way, they would walk over and join UKIP. And of course, unfortunately, instead of sort of using, shall we say, his party power to really sort of censor them, and well not censor them, but sort of punish them, shall we say, for their disloyalty, because there is absolutely a ton of stuff David Cameron could have done, that Theresa May could have done, that even now Rishi Sunak could do to punish, shall we say, these people. Although, to be honest, I think this point is too late, because there are that many different factions in the Tory party at the moment. We're going to go for a full-scale civil war, and it's going to be hilarious to watch. It's going to be fun to see the Tories absolutely tear themselves to shreds over really basic stuff. And we've been seeing that very recently in how they're conducting debates in and around sort of, how to get future stuff done, in and around what do they mean about regulations. They've effectively failed, really, in a lot of their debates and a lot of their actions and arguments. And it is because there's just so many rebels, they can't do anything, they can't move. You can't really do anything unless you have a unified core. And at some point, you've got to stand up to those people and say, look, enough is enough. Knock it off. And that's what happened when we saw Brexit. Brexit happened, and what did the Brexiteers push for? They pushed as hard as they could to get Article 50 triggered. They then kept on pushing again and again and again for the hardest possible Brexit. Even now, this Brexit we have is not good enough, because they are driven by their free market libertarian ideology that Liz Truss tried to follow on with and certainly failed, as we saw, because even then their free market libertarian ideology is not that popular in the Conservative Party, nor is it a popular ideology in the UK. So a lot, and I mean a lot of this stuff that you've seen in America and over here is because these two parties, as we said at the beginning, have welcomed these hardliners, these extremists into their ranks without any form of punishment. And the thing is with these extremists is that they keep on taking ground continuously. They just keep and keep and keep on pushing. And it's gotten to a point where for both parties in both the UK and in America, our Conservative parties have become unfortunately now beholden to these factions. And to do it, they've got to have a fight. And they know they've got to have a fight. I think that's the realization, certainly among the, quote, rational Republicans. Because one of the things I didn't realize is I think back in 2013, the previous Republican Speaker of the House, when the Tea Party caucus, which, again, they encouraged to get into the House, they had it in their idea that if they shut down the government, for whatever reason, Obamacare would be over. You know, they really wanted to get rid of Obamacare. And of course, they failed in the vote because they had nothing to replace it with. You know, you had John McCain, who came and, you know, effectively saved Obamacare. Because even he said, you've got nothing to replace it with. What are you doing? So they were so angry and annoyed because they were just on the assumption that that could happen. And they shut down the government, if you remember, back in 2013 because they were so convinced that if they did, that would be it, that they could finish off Obamacare, and they failed. And you'd have thought that maybe the Republicans would have started to say, hey guys, knock it off. And the thing is, they didn't. That Tea Party movement morphed into the very people you see now holding the US essentially hostage. And one of the best quotes I saw covering this was this. Imagine if you're a hostage negotiator. If you're negotiating with someone and they issue a list of demands, then there is something to negotiate about. You know, there's something to actually talk about. The problem with this case, he said, was that you've got a hostage taker who, when you're onto the phone to him, says, oh, I'm not just a hostage, you know, I'm just not a kidnapper, I'm a hostage collector. You know, I like collecting hostages. How do you negotiate for the release of a hostage with someone who is a hostage collector? And we saw this time and time again throughout this week, that in these negotiations that we saw, a lot of people that I saw were experts on this were basically saying, what is McCartney actually negotiating? What is he negotiating for? What's his take on all this? And some people were just saying, look, he's just negotiating with himself at this point. But they have sown the seeds for chaos, and I guarantee you, in a couple of weeks' time, well, maybe in a couple of months' time, we're going to see these seeds that they have sown certainly take root again and certainly grow into his demise, because I don't think he's going to be, shall we say, Speaker for very long. He's probably going to outlast Liz Truss, and he potentially has, I think, the capability to outlast Lettuce. That's for sure. Hope Stephen S. Hi, greetings from Spain, Happy New Year. Well, greetings to you, and Happy New Year to you as well. Well, if you'll excuse me now, because we're entering back into what is this now ridiculously muddy field. Just sort of take it slow. There we go. So the lesson really is, and I think this goes for any, you know, political stripe or faction, is that beware hardliners, beware extremists. How does this all pan out? What do they do? And it comes to a point where the parties have to go, enough is enough. This can't go on. Knock it off, guys, or else, you know, we'll deselect you, we'll remove the whip from you, we will punish you because your actions are completely fracturing party unity and our ability to govern. And that goes for both the Conservative Party at the moment and the Republicans. They've got to do it, but unfortunately, because they've allowed this to go on for so long, it's going to get messy. It is going to be a bloodbath on both sides. They're going to tear themselves to pieces, and it's going to be fun to watch. Make no mistake about that. It is absolutely going to be be fun to watch. Anyway, there was a comment someone saw. Someone asked me a question. 1 second, let me find it. Mike Fletcher. Watched your video on the CDO. That's the, for those who don't know, that's the Conservative Democratic Organisation on Curadas. How does the RG figure into the COD plans, if at all? To be honest, I'm not 100% sure that they do, but I haven't seen any interactions with them. Maybe that they will join together. Should I have gone this way? Can I get another way? Let's go this way. So it is possible that they will certainly unite and certainly go and cause trouble together. That is for certain. Of course, the question is how much trouble? How much trouble? Oh, and I'm now all really blurry. Hang on. There we go, that's better. You know, how much trouble can, you know, these organizations cause? And I think the main point here is that the CDO is just another faction which will cause trouble. Oh, hang on again. There we go. This is the problem when you do a walk and it's raining. The lens fogs up. You get rain on the lens. Oh, I should have done an indoors walk this morning. Should have done an indoors one. Oh my word, how on earth are we going to struggle through that? Oh, gonna have to go the other way. At least we got the other way last time. I'm not even confident I can get that way through that mud. So it is just another faction, and it's an even interesting faction because, as you know, if you've seen my videos on the CDO, they are making claims that there are people in the Conservative Party, or at least MPs in the Conservative Party, that are not conservative. So they are potentially, if they gain any power whatsoever, that's going to be a fight and a half. I'll tell you that now. Let's try this way. That will be. Oh shit! Almost. Oh no! Should not have gone this way. Almost got my foot stuck. Oh, that was lucky. I thought I was stuck in the mud there. But yeah, it's another faction that is going to cause a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. Especially with the fact, on just that fact alone, of saying you are not conservative enough. Because remember, during the end of days, shall we say, of Boris Johnson's reign, in fact, well, just last year, you had a number of Conservatives making the claim that Boris Johnson was not conservative enough. So, oh no, I can't go that way. So that is interesting, that you've got such a faction of people now coalescing to say you are not conservative. And it's specifically, very specifically, they mention you know, under David Cameron. So I have to wonder whether specifically these threats to get rid of these MPs are going to be directed certainly at those right centrists of the party that David Cameron brought in, because they directly do mention that they were brought in under David Cameron. So potentially that is a lot, and I mean a lot of people that are suddenly in a danger zone, a very, very big danger zone. Ugh. I'm absolutely covered in mud. Oh, but never mind. We do continue and soldier on. I think I'm gonna have to find though an alternative. Oh no! Oh, I thought my welly had split then. I thought my welly had split and had been letting mud in. I was like, oh no. So yeah, this faction in particular, I think, has a potential to cause a lot of trouble. It's just how much power they can accrue, and it's potentially, of course, that they can accrue a lot of power, and once they do, they will start causing trouble. But at that point, as I've said, I think once the Conservatives lose the next general election, it's an all bets are off, bare knuckle fight in the Conservative Party, and they are ready to have it. Trenches have been dug, artillery is being put in place, the machine guns are locked and loaded, and they're just waiting for the whistle to go over the top and start this fight for what is essentially going to be the future direction of the Conservative Party. To be honest, I don't know who will win. I don't really care, to be honest, who wins. All I really care about is the fact that they are going to fight and they are going to tear themselves to shreds, and essentially the party is going to be doomed completely. So there you go. David from Borneo, oh, good morning to you. Yeah, mud wrestling in the GC. That's very true, that will probably happen. And like I say, I am predicting at some point this year there will be a snap general election. I can't say when, but I think it will probably after the May local election, but it's certainly going to happen. I'll be very shocked if we get to next year and we've not had one. I'll be very, very shocked. But yes, as always, guys, please do remember, a shirtless Reese Mogg brandishes a minigun with a necklace of ammunition. Yeah, that is probably true. That is what we'll probably see. Reese Mogg will have a massive bandolier of ammunition, and he will just start unleashing, because he is certainly going to be one of the people who does go to war over sort of certainly the future direction of the Conservative Party. That is an absolute given. But as always, guys, like I say, thank you very much for joining me on today's very, very wet and very, very muddy good morning walk. I'll have to see if we could find maybe an alternative route, because I'm not going to lie, that was incredibly muddy. I don't know how we managed to slog through some of that mud today, because there were a couple of points where I thought, oh no, my boot's stuck. So as always, guys, like I say, thank you very much for today. We will see you next weekend for the Good Morning Walk. We will see you next day as well, because I'm going to have a Wednesday live. I couldn't do this one this week because I was a bit busy, unfortunately. But as always, guys, have an absolutely fantastic weekend. And go out there, enjoy yourselves, do what you want to do. And as always, as they say, if you can't be safe, be sensible. And yes, we'll see you all next time for another Good Morning Walk. And do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button on the way out. And of course, links down below for Patreon page and etc. ways to help support the channel. Other than that, and of course, as always, guys, we'll see you all very soon.